Sometimes, the most powerful experiences in our lives are not the ones we remember, but the ones we never realized were happening to us. Experiences with no images attached, no scenes, no moments we can replay. Just a lingering feeling we've carried like a second skin for years, maybe decades. You know that feeling, that quiet heaviness you can't explain, that sense that something inside you has always been slightly out of tune, even if everything on the surface looked fine growing up. This is the story of childhood emotional neglect, how it shapes a person so deeply without leaving a single memory behind, and how you can begin to understand the invisible wounds that became part of you long before you knew what words like neglect, or needs, or attention even meant. Childhood emotional neglect doesn't usually come with dramatic flashbacks. It doesn't announce itself with shouting or breaking or chaos. It happens silently, quietly, consistently, in homes that may have seemed perfectly normal from the outside, sometimes even loving in their own limited way. It's not the presence of harm, it's the absence of what should have been there, the absence of being seen, the absence of being soothed, the absence of being mirrored back with warmth and understanding. It's like growing up in a room where everyone speaks, but no one speaks to you, or a home where everyone cares, but no one notices you're hurting. And the strange thing is, when you grow up emotionally neglected, you rarely realize it. You don't have dramatic memories. You have patterns. You have tendencies. You have echoes. Because emotional neglect is like being gently wrapped in a fog. You don't see its shape. You only notice how cold you've become. Many people go through life believing they simply turned out this way. They think their sensitivity, their people-pleasing, their difficulty trusting, their fear of expressing needs, their lifelong self-criticism, all of it is just personality. But what if I told you that what you call personality might actually be adaptation? What if many of the traits you think are just who you are were originally survival strategies? Subtle, quiet adjustments you made as a child to fit into an environment that wasn't emotionally attuned to you. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a little boy, maybe 6 years old. He's not being hit, he's not being screamed at, but every time he cries, his mother says, "You're fine, stop making a big deal out of nothing." Every time he's excited, his father says, "Calm down, don't be too much." Every time he's confused or scared, he gets a quick, "You'll figure it out." They love him in the way they know how, but they're not emotionally available. So he learns something crucial. His feelings are inconvenient. They bring no comfort, no connection. They only bring dismissal. Slowly, he teaches himself not to feel, or at least not to show. He grows older and becomes the calm friend, the steady partner, the one who doesn't complain, the one who rarely asks for help, the one who says, "I'm okay," even when he's falling apart inside. And everyone praises him for it. "You're so strong. You're so independent. You're so mature." He smiles because that's what he's always done, but deep down he is still that little boy with a swallowed voice. He has learned to carry his pain quietly, almost elegantly, but he has never learned how to let someone truly hold it with him. Another story. A girl, maybe 8 years old. Her parents are busy, not neglectful in the dramatic sense, but just overwhelmed, tired, emotionally distant. She gets good grades. She helps around the house. She needs nothing, asks for nothing, not because she doesn't want attention, but because she has learned that needing attention won't lead to receiving it. So she becomes the easy child, the low-maintenance one, the one who never gives trouble. She grows up believing that her worth lies in not being a burden. Fast forward 20 years, she's now a woman who apologizes before telling someone how she feels, who panics at the thought of inconveniencing anyone, who stays in relationships where she gives everything and receives very little. And if someone asks her what she needs, she freezes, because needing feels dangerous. Needing feels like losing control. Needing feels like becoming visible, and visibility was never safe. So you see, emotional neglect rarely leaves scars you can point to. Instead, it shapes the way you relate to yourself. It shapes your inner voice. It shapes your expectations of love. It shapes what you think you deserve. And because emotional neglect is a lack, an absence, your brain doesn't store clear memories of it. How do you remember something that never happened? How do you recall a hug you never received? A comforting word that was never spoken? A feeling of safety that never existed? What you remember instead is the adult you became. The adult who struggles to express emotions. The adult who feels empty in moments where you think you should feel full. The adult who mistakes emotional numbness for calmness. The adult who loves deeply but fears that their love is too much, or not enough, or somehow both at the same time. Psychologists say that emotional neglect is like watering a plant just enough to keep it alive, but never enough to let it bloom. The plant grows, yes. It stands, yes. But it never takes up its full shape, never learns its colors, never feels the sunlight the way it was meant to. And if you ask the plant why it grows the way it does, it won't say, "Because I was underwatered." It doesn't know that. It only knows how to survive. And many of us, quietly, unknowingly, became those plants. So let's talk about how childhood emotional neglect shows up in adulthood in ways you may not realize. Maybe you notice that you struggle to identify your feelings, not because you don't feel, but because you were never taught the language of emotions. You grew up as a child without a mirror, no one reflecting your inner world back to you. So as an adult, your emotions come in waves you can't name. You feel something rising inside you, but you can't put words to it. Frustration, sadness, fear, all of it blends into one confusing blur. Or maybe you're the person who thrives in crises, because chaos finally gives your emotions a reason to exist. When things fall apart, you come alive. You know what to do. You take control. But the moment everything becomes stable, secure, peaceful, you feel restless, unsettled, numb, because stability requires emotional presence, and emotional presence was never safe. Maybe you're fiercely independent. You take pride in doing everything alone. You don't rely on people. You hate asking for help. But underneath that independence is a story, one where your childhood self learned that if you didn't handle your own needs, no one else would. You learned that vulnerability is a luxury you were never allowed to afford. Or maybe you're the opposite. You give endlessly. You're the emotional caretaker, the one who listens, supports, comforts. You sense other people's feelings instantly, but when it comes to your own needs, you go silent. You give love effortlessly, but you don't know how to receive it with guilt, because as a child, you were never the one being cared for. You were the one adapting. And the strange thing is, emotional neglect rarely leaves scars you can point to. Instead, it shapes the way you relate to yourself. It shapes your inner voice. It shapes your expectations of love. It shapes what you think you deserve. And because emotional neglect is a lack, an absence, your brain doesn't store clear memories of it. How do you remember something that never happened? How do you recall a hug you never received? A comforting word that was never spoken? A feeling of safety that never existed? What you remember instead is the adult you became. The adult who struggles to express emotions. The adult who feels empty in moments where you think you should feel full. The adult who mistakes emotional numbness for calmness. An adult who loves deeply but fears that their love is too much, or not enough, or somehow both at the same time. Psychologists say that emotional neglect is like watering a plant just enough to keep it alive, but never enough to let it bloom. The plant grows, yes. It stands, yes. But it never takes up its full shape, never learns its colors, never feels the sunlight the way it was meant to. And if you ask the plant why it grows the way it does, it won't say, because I was underwatered. It doesn't know that. It only knows how to survive. And many of us, quietly, unknowingly, became those plants.
But hear this. Emotional neglect is not your fault. What didn't happen shaped you, but it did not define your potential for connection or healing. You weren't broken, you were undernourished, and what's undernourished can be fed. Often, emotional neglect happens because parents themselves were overwhelmed or emotionally unsupported. They offered structure and physical care, but not emotional presence, sometimes because no one ever offered it to them. The cycle continues not through harm, but through silence. Here's another metaphor. Imagine you were a violin. Your strings needed tuning, gentle, consistent attention. Without that tuning, you learned to produce music that was always slightly off-key. You still functioned, but never harmonized. Yet violins can be tuned at any time. You are tunable. Emotional presence can be learned, even if you never experienced it. Healing begins with awareness. The moment you stop saying, "This is just who I am," and start saying, "This is who I became because of what I lacked." Suddenly, your patterns make sense. The discomfort with praise, the fear of conflict, the draw to emotionally unavailable people, the feeling of being too much and invisible at once. Healing isn't about blaming your parents. It's about meeting your younger self and offering what they never received. I see you. Your feelings matter. For many, healing starts with small questions. What am I feeling right now? What do I need? Why is this triggering me? What would I say to a child who felt this way? These questions gently lead you back to yourself. Healing also means learning to tolerate emotional closeness. For someone emotionally neglected, closeness can feel like exposure, uncomfortable, too bright. But that discomfort is your nervous system learning that closeness can be safe. It means unlearning the belief that needs make you weak. Needs are bridges to connection, not burdens. And yes, healing involves grieving. Grieving the comfort you never received, the emotional language never taught, the safety never offered. Grief is not failure, it's acknowledgement. Imagine one more scene. You stand in a quiet room. In the mirror, you don't see your adult self, you see the child you once were. The child who hid sadness, who stayed quiet, who felt unheard. You kneel, look into their eyes, and say softly, "You didn't deserve silence. You weren't a burden. You were simply unheard." Something warm opens inside you. That is the beginning of healing. Healing from emotional neglect is slow, gentle, uneven. It's learning to notice emotions in real time, to speak your needs even when your voice shakes, to stay present when closeness scares you, to set boundaries without apology, to take up space. Emotional neglect didn't break you. It left parts of you untouched, waiting to be seen. Those parts are still there, waiting for your attention, your compassion, your love. If this resonates with you, take a moment of reflection. What part of me has been waiting the longest to be acknowledged? Let whatever arises be okay. You are no longer the silent child. You are the adult who can finally listen. Healing begins with noticing, not perfection, with presence, not performance, with meaning, not memory. And now, slowly, gently, you can begin giving yourself what you never received. You deserve nourishment. You deserve connection. You deserve to be understood and held with patience and love. You are learning now. You are healing now. And the most beautiful part? You're doing it with the one person who needed it all along, yourself.